Why, hello, I hope this vlog finds you doing well, or maybe I should do this. This is dedicated to my, well, just this part, to my brother-in-law, Jesse, who said that I'm kind of like Mrs. Rogers, and I thought that was funny and a compliment. Also, if you're wondering about this mini makeover, not so mini actually, I think I look like an Egyptian. Walk like an Egyptian. I don't know if you know that song. Anyway, my youngest daughter, Petra, did my makeup this morning, and I'm sure she will have this on her TikTok makeup tutorial. Cool thing that she does. She is phenomenal with makeup. So well done, my daughter. It was pretty fun. So we have had quite an eventful last little bit of chunk of time here. My husband accidentally smoked out the basement, so we were up bright and early cleaning everything up and trying to get the smell out of the house. And anyway, that'll probably be on one of my kids' stories. They love posting all of the wild things that happen in our home. All is well, though. So this has been quite an adventure, selling this home so quickly. But God is good, and I am not afraid. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, is fear. Now, if you would have asked me maybe 15 years ago, do you deal with fear? Or even 10 years ago, I would have said, no, I'm just not afraid. Haven't been the kind of person that feels tormented or can't be by themselves or really sees everybody as a potential danger. So there are certain markers, I guess, that I had in my mind that made me think that I am not a fearful person. And though that would definitely not be one of the top things that I deal with, over time, I've come to realize that we all deal with fear in some form or fashion. And you know, we all have a giant to slay, right? So to speak. And that just wasn't the giant. That was my thing that I really had to learn to deal with. But fear is something that we all have to take a look at. And so fear is actually something that my husband's family, he and his family, have really wrestled with. It is a spirit that attacks their family. And so by proxy of being married, you know, you end up dealing with a lot of those things more so than you did before. And so I've seen that even passed down to my children. But what's awesome is, you know, there are blessing and curses and that our children inherit, but we can cut those things off in the family line by dealing with them. And my husband, if I can get him to vlog with me, it would be really cool if he would tell you about him slaying the giant of fear. And it just has no hold on his life anymore. But when my husband was really sick, he became afraid because it was the unknown, not knowing what was wrong with him. And so that familiar spirit came in. And so how it came in for him and how it came in for me, because I became afraid, was different. So for me, so with him, he would become angry or volatile because he was afraid. So a lot of times when people are afraid, they actually become really scary. But that's a way that they are protecting themselves because they want you to think that you can't hurt them and you can't get to them. So that's really important to tuck away in your mind, that if someone, and I'm not saying this about Philip, just in general, if someone becomes aggressive or super, has an exterior that is abrasive or maybe a little bit combative or any of the things in those categories that are distasteful, it's very often rooted in fear. And so that'll help you to know how to deal with that person. And we know that perfect love casts out all fear. So what is the answer? Cha-ching! It is love, which is the first fruit of the Spirit, right? So love is the answer. God is the answer. So I was going to tell you another thing that really happens very often, oh, sorry, I'm having phone issues, when we get entangled with fear can be the victim mindset. And that's what happened with me. I had always had such an overcoming spirit. I grew up being really sick, and I had just been so resilient. I just really didn't have that victim mindset or mentality. But I now understand what the Israelites were dealing with, that slavery type mindset, that victim mentality, because watching my husband be sick for so long and powerless in all of the different dynamics of dealing with doctors and family and friends and everybody's opinions, and a lot of the cruelty that sadly comes along with a long-term illness, is people just don't know what to do, and so often they mishandle you out of their fear. Is I began to see our situation from a victim mindset, which is there's nothing I can do, I'm powerless, I just have to let things happen. And it really changed the way that, really changed me just in general, because that was so not who I was. And so I actually had confessed at one point. I realized that that was what I was dealing with, and I had confessed that. And I had confessed it to a couple of friends, and one person said, yeah, I can see that. And it was just so judgmental and not helpful, which, you know, that's religion, and it is what it is. But I had a couple of other friends that I confessed it to, and they said, oh, dear friend, I see that. Or I see it now, let me come alongside of you. And so we actually began to fast and pray, not only for my husband, but also for me, and warring for me that I would be equipped to know how to take care of my husband and family in this season where it just seemed that we didn't have a roadmap. But you know who always has the roadmap? Our Father does. And so I learned that his perfect love, and tapping into that perfect love, would cast out the fear that had overtaken me. So I've given you two examples of the way that fear can manifest itself, and it morphs and looks so different from person to person. But in that vlog I did, I think 2 vlogs ago, I talked about fear and how the Father sees the truth, right? And he sees fear and he's calling it out, but he's not calling us out. He's calling out the fear or the spirit. And I had talked about how, you know, that Bible teaching I had listened to had said that pride is a Trojan horse. And yes, pride is a huge issue in the body, but it is fear. It is fear that is holding us captive. And as I've been processing that, and I hope you have been too the last few days, because I did say that was your homework. Again, it looks so different, but I feel like we need to come back to it and talk about it again, because fear is so powerful, and it is the spirit that is permeating the world right now during COVID. People are so afraid that they have forgotten to live. They have forgotten who they put their trust in, and that is God. And so we've put our trust in so many things that are of this world. And yes, there are earthly things that we need to do to take care of ourselves and to live well. But our trust and our hope and our faith and our everything is in God. And if it's not, we can be so easily deceived. And that's why I always bring you back to the way. Because, you know, when you are, or when we are focused on having an experience with God, and yes, as I've said, we have those markers that we look back on through our spiritual history that remind us of where we came from, and we do that in the Bible, don't we? But if we're constantly looking for those moments or for those feelings to be able to be anchored in God, if we get really kind of tangled up in the new agey spirit, if we're always looking for that feeling, that vibration, that, you know, creating that atmosphere, people have really gotten out of control with having to set the tone with the lights. The lights are off And you know, a lot of that stuff, it really is rooted in the occult. They teach you to have people be in the dark and have candles and have light shows and play certain vibrations. Kanye West actually did a really interesting little video that I saw on YouTube where he talked about how Satan had instruments on his chest and how he played certain vibrations. And Kanye was saying, I only play my music for God now, because he said that certain vibrations that you play pull vibrations out of your body that are occultic. And he said, I'm separating myself from all of that. And I'm not a musician, so I had never seen music that way. So I know I'm kind of all over the place, but I hope I'm making my point that the enemy is constantly finding these ways to get in and to get at us. And so we need to know our enemy, but our focus should not be on our enemy. Our focus, even in the storm, needs to stay on him, because when we take our focus off of him and we're looking at our problem, or we're looking at what's going on in the world, or we're looking straight at our adversary, or we're looking at people and their opinions of us or whatnot, we are not engaged with the perfect one that made us. And he's the answer. He has the answers. So when we're engaging with all of this other stuff, we're actually disengaging ourselves from the solution to our problem. But even in that, he's so much more than the solution to our problem. He is our resting place. And so a lot of times it's just him saying, come away with me. I just want you to have a break. Let me deal with that problem. Let me deal with that solution. And I know with my husband, it was God that diagnosed my husband. And if I hadn't been spending time with him, and my friends hadn't been spending time with him, and we hadn't been fasting and praying and asking him to speak, we would have not known what was wrong with him. But once God spoke and once he gave us the answer, we were able to then go after the solution. And so the answer was a spiritual answer, and the solutions were physical solutions. They were earthly solutions. And so it was so much the physical and spiritual paralleling. And so I really hope that I didn't dart all over the place too much for you today. But you know, fear is such a big topic. Maybe we'll come back to it. I also don't want to focus on the negative. I want to be a hope dealer. I want to be sowing seeds of love into your heart and into your life, and remind you that you're not alone, that we are in this together. So I hope that you're going to go out and see a God sighting somewhere today. Keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, keep your heart open to what God has for you today. We're only halfway through the day. So I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day. I hope that whatever giant it is that's standing before you, that God will show you what pebble it is, just that one pebble that you need to pick up and put in your sling to shoot that giant on down. You know, David, he picked up multiple stones, and people say different things about that, but I'll tell you, he picked up multiple stones because he was not only planning on slaying Goliath, he was planning on slaying Goliath's entire family. So read about that in the Bible. It's super encouraging. He picked up a stone for each one of them. He knew that it only was one stone per giant. So I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will talk to you again soon. Be encouraged. Bye.